Alright, so this is now the 5th episode of Stella having me watch 23 of her movies to match the 23 Marvel movies that I have to watch. If you want to watch the other ones we've done, you can watch them somewhere up here. I don't know where that would be. I'm not, I am YouTube savvy, but I don't, it's either there or there. But we're watching the final Twilight movie. We watched the other ones. Now this is breaking down part 2.
Why do you look confused?
It's your movie. You got some questions for me?
So, what did okay. What was your favorite since all of the Twilight movies we watched them? What is your favorite one?
I think I like this one the most.
Really?
I think so. I enjoy this one the most.
This one or Twilight the most?
The first one is still good, and going back from the last episode as far as simplicity and complexity, that one's more simple, so yeah. I kind of like it for that, and there were other things I liked about it, just details and look-wise, but I like this one more because it's more silly, and the actors are having more fun. Like, I can tell they're actually having a good time doing this one, because
all of their acting is the best in these ones.
And
which is unfortunate because it's the last one.
It's funny because it's not even that they are better actors, but not for like dramatic purposes. It's almost like they got a little more campy with this one, but it's better because you can tell they're having a lot more fun. I don't know if it's because it was the final one and they were like, "Oh, we're finally done with these," but ever since like the first movie, it just seems like they've kind of been drugged through these other ones, and sometimes they're so way off with what they're trying to get across. I said I think overall they've improved with each movie, but at the same time, it seems like they want to be there less and less in a way. But I don't know. It depends on the scenes. Like there were some moments in the last movie where I really liked Robert Pattinson, and other ones where I'm like, when is this done? But this one, it seems like they're all just having a real good time. And I like that this one has a bunch of other vampires from all these different regions. Yeah, I like that a lot because it makes everything feel much larger. A lot of the vampires are actually kind of funny. A lot of them are have their own little quirks. I like the British one the most because I said during the movie, I was like, I kind of wish he just had his own movie because that dude is way funnier and better than all these than all these other ones we've been focusing on for the other movies.
Yeah.
And I just kind of like that they just keep introducing these different types, and I was thinking, man, why couldn't have all the movies been like this? Why couldn't we have had all these vampires throughout all the movies rather than focus on a love story and a couple characters. High schooler but Harry Potter did it. Well, I mean, they had a bunch of characters, and
yeah.
And that's what I mean, though. I'm like, not just introduce all of them at once and then have them in all the movies. I mean, that the way that they have so many different vampires introduced in this movie, they could have done that scattered around in all the other movies. But yeah, I've actually seen this one before in theaters, and I remember it being a lot dumber.
Was that the first one you've seen in theaters?
Yes. Was it the first one you saw in theaters?
Yeah.
You had seen the other movies, though.
Before this one?
Yeah. For the most part.
Not part 1, I don't know. I can't remember. My mom was really weird about Breaking Dawn, and she didn't let me read them. She's like, I started, and she's like, you can't read that one. It's inappropriate. So I don't know. I don't think I seen part 1. But then that would be, like, kind of confusing if I didn't.
I mean, I saw part 2, and I pretty much figured it out, but that was also because I was very aware that she had a baby in the last one. Just from...
Not just aware, very aware.
Very a werewolf. Yeah, very aware.
Yeah, but it wasn't funny.
Yikes. What? That was funny. Werewolves! It's funny! Is that their official term? Are they actually werewolves, or are they just wolves?
They say werewolves.
Okay. I just was I'm trying to remember because
they refer to them more like wolves, but they are werewolves.
Okay. I'm just wondering because they don't really have the traditional werewolf look because they are just wolves, but
and they have nothing to do with the moon.
Yeah, they just break the rules there. I mean, granted, the vampires.
They change when they get angry instead.
Do these vampires not like garlic in these movies? Did they ever make a joke or a comment about that? I thought they did, or about one of the weird.
Jacob makes a comment about the light, doesn't he?
Maybe, but that is something that they kind of are. They're just not allergic to it. Like in Nosferatu in 1922, that vampire, like straight up, if it sees the sun, it dies. So,
they just twinkle.
That's how Nosferatu should have ended, just with him twinkling.
Yeah.
I
don't remember what I asked. I'm off track.
Oh, I'll just go off because I like the actors in this one better. I like the characters, even though some of the moments are a little weirder, like Jacob's whole imprinting thing, which was done in the last movie. But I don't like how it's like continued in this one, especially the way that him and Renesmee become close so quick.
The way
it's
he
a little,
eyes up the baby when Rosalie's holding her. I'm like,
it's not cool.
I mean, I do that when I want to hold a baby, but he does it gross.
It's
uncomfortable.
Well, Jacob is so crazy in this movie because then he also does that thing with the father where he's like trying to tell the father that Bella's still alive, or I mean, he didn't even think she was dead, just like gone or whatever. But he wanted him to know that they're all like vampires, which the dad never really finds out anyway. But it's like he knows something's up, but he's just not questioning it because they like pretty much make it seem like he shouldn't ask, and he just doesn't.
Yeah.
But Jacob straight up turns into a werewolf in front of the dad and just is like getting naked, and that scene was so funny to me in theaters. Seeing it again, it's still as funny. But there was other things that were not.
Doesn't that seem part of it, like so random? It
seemed like it was the filmmakers kind of being a bit of a self-parody.
Yeah.
On purpose, because the whole thing is that throughout all the movies they had to have Jacob with his shirt off because he's the good-looking dude and it's a Hollywood blockbuster, gotta do it. But I like in this one that they kind of made fun of it because it's like, look at, I'm gonna do it in front of her dad.
Yikes.
But there was other moments in the movie that I remember laughing at like crazy in the theater. Especially with the final battle.
Grabs him by the neck and throws him outside.
Crap like that, yeah.
You named my daughter after a Loch Ness monster.
There was other
Why?
Yeah.
Stupid.
That's stupid like meme now, whatever. And some of the vampires that show up, I thought were funny. The way they looked and acted, and then like the final battle for sure. Stuff like that made me laugh. Stuff with Michael Sheen and such. It was all stuff that I thought was very funny and I thought it made it for like a bad movie. But rewatching it, I was like, this is just kind of a campy good time. And I actually don't. It's funny, but it doesn't. I don't think it's stupid anymore. I actually think the filmmakers were quite aware of what they were making. And I think it's a much better time. I still don't think there's much of a story here. There's really not. There's more story here than some of the other movies, especially the last three. So basically all of them.
Yeah.
I don't think they needed to split this movie into two because there was probably enough in the first part and second part to make for a full movie that if you would have cut a lot of stuff, would have had a better story. But I just have a good time watching this because there's not a moment that really lets me down. There's not really a story or kind of moving pace going on, but they're always doing something that I kind of have fun just watching.
Yeah.
I'm not really endorsing the movie because it's still like the other ones. There's, like I said, there's not enough story. Their characters aren't very interesting, and for being a supernatural fantasy like movie, there's not a lot of that because it's meant to be set in modern boring times. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just saying like these are obviously they're not my type of movies. I think they are centered towards younger women, teenage girls especially. It's just that kind of movie. But I have a good time with this one.
What did you think about the final battle? How they did it?
I got so mad at it when I originally saw it, only
Really?
because, from my understanding, was that the book does not end this way. They do not have a battle, and a lot of people had complained that the book kind of ended with an anticlimax because there wasn't really anything that happened. The whole part two is basically them building up for the battle, drawing the lines, getting a bunch of people to join their fight to go against the Volturi, who are coming to get the daughter because, well, they want Alice, but they also mostly found out about this daughter out of nowhere, which the daughter, the girl from the last movie. I'm sorry, I just don't know all these characters. The girl from the last movie, who was mad at the Cullens for being friends with the wolves. Well, she came back, and then she saw that they had Renesmee, but she thought that they had turned a child into a vampire, which is bad. You're not supposed to do that.
Because in the flashback, their mom did that, and then got killed.
Right. And it was a real cool flashback because they go to back in the Salem times. It's real cool looking. I don't know if it was Salem, but it felt like that's what they were doing, the Salem witch trials or whatever.
Yeah.
But so then she goes and reports to the Volturi, and then the Volturi are coming. But it always sort of feels like they have another motive, and this time it really feels like they're also trying to get Alice because they've brought her up more than once, and she is the first one they also grab because they kidnap her, correct? Somehow they already
Alice
have.
And Alice and Jasper leave
Right.
to go get. They go get information, or they left for another reason. They could see her or something.
Yeah.
I don't remember because they could read. No, okay. They left. Because they didn't want the other people to read their mind on where she was.
Right. Okay,
And
that makes sense.
they got more information and found that other kid that's half and half, Renesmee.
Mm-hmm. So that proves that it won't be an issue, or that it doesn't automatically become an issue.
Yeah, because they didn't know about that kid.
And they didn't know that she was the child of Edward and Bella's until the Volturi get there. And then they still don't like that because it's assumed then that the original issue is no longer an issue because it's actually not a child turned into a vampire. Mm-hmm. So then he kind of still just changes his mind and he's like, no, this is still an issue. And then a big fight happens, but this doesn't happen in the book, but it's happening in the movie. And they are straight up killing people.
Big deal people.
Well, because who was the first one to die? Wasn't it, the father? Yeah, so Carlisle's dead.
Well,
and
that traumatized me in the theater. I was like, because I didn't read that book, but I was like, oof, can we do that?
And then, some of the almost all of the Volturi and the main leaders die. A couple more of the Cullens die, too. So it's just, a lot of the main characters we've seen. I believe so, yeah, because...
Yeah, and then Alice kills Jane.
And it's a real cool fight. It's a cool fight, and they're all using their powers, and I'm like, finally, this movie series is doing something. And then it's all fake.
Psych.
Yeah, it's all fake because it's actually just Alice doing a memory projection, saying this is what will happen if you decide to fight, and it actually freaks Michael Sheen out, and then he's like, oh man, well, I don't know.
That is his name in the movie.
That is. There's no other name. By the way, I really enjoy him in these movies. I think he's funny as hell. He's the best.
Creepy ass. Ew, when he does that creepy laugh.
Is it something like that? And he, then they suddenly just bring out that random guy. They were like, look, he is also the same. And then they ask him, they do a little questionnaire with him, how long have you lived? And he's like, 150 years.
They're like, when did you stop aging? What do you eat? I'm like...
Yeah, just stuff like that. And then they're like, alright, well, we're gonna go. And he, turns around, he's like, we might be back. And it's, still kind of acting weird. He always is, kind of on the edge of,
You said you'd be back for New Moon, and you've really done nothing.
He's like, I might do something else. And it's just, these guys are so non-threatening. But that battle was cool.
They're tired.
I liked the battle originally because I actually thought that the filmmakers knew how the series was going, and they said, screw it, let's just go against the book, and let's just kill a bunch of these people, because we're not going to have a sequel. They're not going to make spin-offs to this. Let's just go all out and really screw with people's heads. And I thought it was so ballsy, because I was like, that is so cool. There's no other Movie
I
series.
think it would kind of be good.
I think it would have been badass if
Yeah.
they would have just maybe because I think if you would have killed too many of the main characters, people would have been ticked.
Did Edward fall in?
He doesn't die. He falls in, but he doesn't die because I remember him and Bella are the ones ripping off the guy's head at the end and starting it on fire. So they are both alive still. He makes it for sure. I might get that wrong, but I'm pretty sure he made it because I think he was one of the.
I thought he did too, but I can't remember.
I think he ripped the head off of the main guy, and then.
Okay, wait, I'm gonna go.
But yeah, I think it would have been real ballsy of them to kill a bunch of the main characters and go to the next. Well, not next movie. I mean, just like leave it at that. Like a bunch of people die and it's a final battle. But I guess I know why they did it though. It's because they wanted to give the movie a little oomph because they can't just end the movie with preparing for a battle that doesn't happen because it's Hollywood movie. What does it say?
No, why did I think Edward died?
Well, he does fall in that like canyon, so I get that.
And then he jumps back. Okay,
Yes.
but why did I? Ooh, because.
I think he would have been a lot more torn up if he would have actually died, even if it was a fake death.
I would, and that's why I was like, oh, I'd be okay if they ended it that way. And then I was like, wait, not if they killed him off, because oof.
At the time, it made me very mad because it felt like the movie was being a bit cheap because it was trying to be this typical Hollywood blockbuster with a big battle, but we still got to follow the book, which was technically a boring ending. So then we're gonna do both.
Like. Helping on the movies because she probably would have been pissed.
I don't know.
She was really like with the movies.
I don't know if she had like a J.K. Rowling level of involvement or what. If because I don't.
I feel like she would have been pissed.
Probably, but that's the thing.
That's
like
probably why they didn't.
I don't think they would have done it. I don't think so because they always have to at least leave open for the absolute possibility that there's a sequel or she writes a sequel book, which they can then make more movies because. It is still a Hollywood production that's part of a franchise, big franchise that made a lot of money.
3 are alive.
Right, but I mean, they wouldn't have done it. I don't think they would have done it. There was just a moment where I actually thought they would. In the theater, it disappointed me, but watching it now, I think it's a lot cooler because I'm glad they have a fight in there because I agree with the filmmakers where they were like, we have to give this something, a bit of a oomph.
Decided to do that.
Well, and it's like, it's such a cliche in Hollywood to do the whole, like, dream sequence, but it was like, oh, but it was all a dream. But it's almost like I give this a little bit of credit because the whole thing's not really a dream, it's just that one sequence. But it's a very cool sequence, and it's not technically a dream, it's using a superpower to freak someone out. So I give it a little bit of credit, but, yeah, that is the highlight of the movie. I love those one guys, too. It's the Russian guys, right? Who, like, really are excited to take on the Volturi, and then they don't actually do it. They're like, you serious? And they're like...
they're going to come back for you, and we're not going to help you.
What did he say? Something along the lines of, like, we've been waiting 5,000 years to take on the Volturi, and then, like, they don't do it. He's like, are you serious? And then they kind of just walk away, and I'm like, I'm like, they are so, like, flamboyant and uppity. Like, they're just pissed off that they don't get the fight.
They remind me of those two Muppets.
The whole guys.
In the box.
I was gonna say this really sucked. What, the vampires? No, the movie! No!
How do you feel about Jacob and Renesmee's relationship?
Yeah, blech.
When they do that little fake thing at the end?
Yeah.
That's real, I think, but it looks weird.
I said it was funny because, is her name Mackenzie Foy? Is it something like that? So they age her up because that's like the whole thing. She's rapidly growing, but they do like a little flash forward and they show that Jacob and her are together and she's like shown as like an older person. Mm-hmm. But like Mackenzie Foy still like looks exactly the same as she did when she was younger. Like she hasn't like aged a day.
Taller.
And it's been 8 years. I mean, she's still younger, and I don't know how far that flash forward was going as far as like technical age, but I'm like, I feel like she'll never actually quite even reach the flash forward age that they made out of CG for her.
Did you say that she still hasn't probably reached that age yet?
Well, she hasn't, because I'm like, if you look at her now, and I'm guessing, because now she's like in her probably early 20s, she still looks exactly the same.
A year or two younger than me.
Well, I'm saying I'm like I don't. That Flash Forward got it wrong. She looks a lot younger than that, but they do that all the time. I mean, like Back to the Future Part 2 also did that. All of them are aged up in that movie. And if you look at them today, they all literally look almost exactly the same as they did when the movies came out. Like, Michael J. Fox pretty much hasn't aged, really, except for a couple of wrinkles. Same with Leah Thompson. So, movies are just bad at aging people up because they always get it wrong. So that's my response to Jacob and Renesmee.
Okay.
Anything else?
1 out of 10.
6.
It was your favorite and it's 6.
I mean, it's Twilight.
Sir.
It was alright.
You can leave.
It was a good time. It's funny. 6 out of 10. What do you give it?
I'm upset.
What do you give it?
8.
Okay. Serviceable enough. Well, we're done with Twilight now, so we're going to keep going with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Next week with the Avengers, but now we're going to be moving on to pretty much a
random movies.
Grab bag of
Whatever
different
I
movies
feel
that
in the mood for.
Stella came up with that I haven't seen. Or actually,
Some.
is there any others that I have? Some of the, we're doing Nicholas Sparks movies, so well, I think I've seen only 1 or 2 of those. But next week,
Forgot what we watched.
it's Just My Luck. I have them all written down somewhere. So Just My Luck.
Yeah.
Just My Luck with Lindsay Lohan and Chris Pine.
Yeah.
Woo! I love me some mid-2000s trash.
Trash.
Let's go. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching the video, and special shout out to Anthony, Anna, Lucas, NolanCho, Ryan, and Robert for the support on Patreon. By joining my Patreon, you can get exclusive videos and blogs, and for only $7, you can request your own movie review. I hope you stick around, cinephile, and have a happy, productive day.